Good evening, everyone. I'm Dark Drackle, and this is a tutorial for the Jedi Holocron, a new virtual piece by SWM Gamers for the Star Wars Miniatures gaming community. Now, this card I received as a promo for attending the Northwest Ohio Regional. It was designed by Trevor, username There Is No Try, our 2016 Gen Con champion. The Jedi Holocron is a small base character and has no hit point, no defense, attack, or damage ratings. It's 11 points and has affinity for Republic, Old Republic, Rebel, and the New Republic. So it could fit into a lot of different squads. The purpose of this tutorial is to explain how this piece plays and how it can be used in the game. So to play the Jedi Holocron, you're going to need to choose a light side faction. It's 11 points, so that'll need to be factored into your build. You need a unique ally with a lightsaber. So I've chosen Rebels as my faction and Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber. I've also got another lightsaber character. This could be a non-unique or a unique, something else that can benefit from the holocron. And then for the holocron, I'm just using a smaller D6, and while it's unactivated, I'm putting it on a 1, and then while it's activated, I am going to flip it to a 6. So that's simply how I'm going to do that. It's very important when you play the Jedi Holocron that it chooses an ally and becomes attached to it. If you were to move your squad out and maybe move your squad away, the Jedi Holocron does not move, and then when it would activate at the end of its turn, if it has no adjacent unique allies, it is defeated. So you don't want to do that. So during the first round, in the startup area, you're going to want to activate the holocron and choose a unique ally with a lightsaber. It's important to note that you cannot use light inspiration, which is an ability that replaces turn and lets you move a character. That you can't choose the character and move it on that same turn. So, however, you could choose an ally, a lightsaber, ally with a lightsaber that's adjacent, and move that character 3 squares. So, for instance, I can activate the holocron, and I can choose Luke as the chosen ally for the holocron, and then I can move the another adjacent character with a lightsaber 3 squares. Now, if you had, let's say you had 2 holocrons in your squad, you could choose Luke as the chosen ally for a holocron, but with the second holocron, it says holocron special ability says that you cannot choose an ally that's already chosen by a holocron. So I cannot choose Luke. So I could choose, perhaps I could choose this character. If it's a unique ally with a lightsaber that's adjacent, I could activate and I could choose this. So I could attach it to this Jedi. So both of these Jedi now have a holocron. So you can never have multiple holocrons attached to one Force user. For the purposes of this video, I'm just going to use one holocron, and the holocron activates, and you can move an adjacent, with light inspiration allows you to move an adjacent lightsaber character 3 squares, and then after it's activated, lightsaber characters with a um, within 6 get range defense expert 2. So when they're targeted by a non-adjacent enemy, they get a +2 to their save rolls against that enemy's attacks and special abilities, and that lasts until the end of the round. So that's pretty handy. Whenever the chosen ally moves, wherever it moves to, the holocron is immediate whenever it changes, and it changes a position on the board. The holocron is moved into or immediately placed into a legal adjacent square. So even if Luke were to be like force pushed or knocked around or something onto the board, then Luke would be the holocron could be placed adjacent. So that can be kind of handy because, say, you can move. If you have an enemy that is like, let's see, um, you can move Luke and try to place the holocron into a space where, so now he can't land in this square adjacent to my Luke. 3, 4, 5, 6. He would want to go here so that he could make an attack on Luke, but he can't land there because the holocron is now in that square. So that's kind of nice for blocking a space. Another thing that you can do, I could run Luke over to here, and then the holocron could move and be placed adjacent to this door, and then the door would open, and so there could be shooters over here, but Luke is 1 square away from the door, so he's out of line of sight, so he cannot be targeted. So that's kind of handy. And then also when Luke goes, so like if I have other characters out here or whatnot, they're within 6 of the Jedi Holocron. They're getting the range defense expert, so they can use that for save rolls on their lightsaber defenses or whatever. And then when Luke moves, or you could use your light inspiration, or Luke could move and into this room, and then immediately the holocron would go adjacent to Luke, and now this door is shut. So that's kind of a neat little trick. Light inspiration is also very useful for, if a character has a double attack or something. So like, I could activate the holocron and move Luke 3 squares, and now Luke can activate on his turn, and he could make his double attack, or if he had, like, say, a replaces a turn ability or something. So it's kind of a useful movement breaker for, small movement breaker for a force user. It's important to note that you cannot use the holocron to provide cover or block movement. So if you try to put the holocron between you and a shooter, the shooter can still shoot through the holocron, and it's not providing cover bonus. And then also, if it's not blocking movement either. So if the enemy wants, they could move through the square that the holocron is in. They just can't end their movement in that square. So that's important to remember, that your holocron is not providing cover, and it is not blocking movement. So the holocron also does not count as an adjacent. So if I run up and I place the holocron adjacent to a shooter, he would still be able to shoot like another character, because the holocron is not considered adjacent. The Jedi Holocron has 5 force points and the lightsaber defense ability. The holocron cannot gain or spend force itself. it doesn't count as a legal target, and it has no hit points. So why would it need force points or a lightsaber defense? So let's talk about the cool part about the holocron. The chosen ally, if he doesn't spend any of his own force points in that turn, can spend the holocron's force points to use its force powers. So we've got 5 force points on the holocron, and Luke can spend the holocron's force points to use its lightsaber defense ability or its unnamed force powers of reroll and move faster. So the chosen ally, if they didn't have lightsaber defense before, they now can use a lightsaber defense off of the holocron. And if they had Master of the Force 2, they could spend another holocron's force point to lightsaber defense or re-roll that lightsaber defense. So that could come in very handy. If they tried to if they have Master of the Force 2, then they can re-roll, like, say, an evade or a parry or something like that. But if you use some other kind of a force power, if he spent force points, like if he used his own force points to lightsaber defense, or he used his own force points for a block or something, then he would not be able to use the holocron's force points for a reroll. You can use the holocron's force points for unnamed force powers, like the reroll. You can also do that crazy movement. So, I can activate the holocron, use light inspiration, then and then I can, if I had Master of the Force 2, I could spend the holocron's force, and then I could, like, move 2, and then, like, maybe move another 2, spend the holocron's force, and then go ahead and move my 6 or 12 squares. So, it can really help you, like, get a lot of movement just with the extra the force from the holocron and the light inspiration ability. So at the end of the turn, if the holocron has no adjacent unique allies or force points, it's defeated. So whenever Luke is defeated, if I can't move someone adjacent to the holocron, at the end of its turn, once it activates again, it's going to be defeated. So, there's that. And then also, when you're spending force points, once the holocron is drained, or it has no force points remaining, at the end of that turn, the holocron is defeated. So if I've, like, re-rolled and I moved faster a couple times, if I used like several lightsaber defenses, then the 5 force points could go pretty quick, and then it would be defeated. Any character can move and replace its attacks to remove 2 force points from the holocron. So, like, this character, say, could move, like 6 squares and come up here and replace its attack and remove 2 force points from the holocron. So drain it down to 3. A force user has a better chance of draining a holocron because the force user can move up to, like, 12 squares, spend a force point, and drain 2 off of a holocron and take it down to 3. If the force user has more Master of the Force 2, it could run up to 12 squares or something, spend its Master of the Force 2, and actually drain 4 force points off of the holocron, taking it down to 1, assuming you've never spent any holocron or any force points on it, which is pretty much going to leave the holocron vulnerable and very close to death. As you can see, the holocrons are very useful, and they will be drained to force quickly. And then also, enemies can also drain force off of them if they want to, use up their force or their attacks to focus on the holocron. Then they can do that. And they're really fun to play for opening doors, for blocking off squares, but I think you'll most often want to keep the holocron behind you, so that way if an enemy wants to try to kill the holocron, they're going to have to draw attacks of opportunity from your force user to be able to do so. So thanks for watching. Please like this video and check out all the action on SWN Gamers or BlueMilk.com.